So when you first log into JobsEQ, you can come to this home page here, and all of the data within JobsEQ are grouped into different analytics, and then those analytics are grouped into different sections on this My Tools page. This My Tools page, you can toggle between the grid view and the list view, depending on which one you'd like to view. But I'll go over some of these sections here on this Tools page, and then we'll get into some of the specific analytics that might be helpful for you related to education and looking at alumni and engineering programs too. So we have the demographic section, which has some different demographic information. So if you're wanting to know information about demographics for grants or for just demographics in your region, you can start with this section here. And that includes demographic information for age, race, gender, ethnicity, as well. We also have the occupation section, which has some different information about occupations that your students could be going into, including employment and wages or demand for those occupations. The education section has some different information about post-secondary institutions within your region and completion information and also skill information. Then we also have this data access section that includes some different analytics where you can find a lot of different data in one place for a lot of different regions. And then we also have the report section, which has some ready-made reports that you can download as a PDF or a Word document. So if you're wanting a lot of information about a topic like an occupation or a program all at the same time, you can start with these reports and then also dive a little bit deeper into the other analytics to find some more specific data. So there's a lot of information you can find here in JobsEQ, and we won't be able to cover everything in this 2 hours, but I will try to cover some of the analytics that might be the most helpful. And the first one I want to show you is Occupation Snapshot. Just just gives you a good overview of the occupations within your region that your students might be going into, and the employment and the wages that those students might be getting, as well as if they are in demand or forecasted to be in demand in the future. So we can start with Occupation Snapshot in this Occupation section of the My Tools page. And if we click on the analytic, it will take us to the analytic. And then you can also click on these 3 horizontal lines to open up the query window that's not open already. You can also click the lock icon to lock this window in place if you'd like. And this is where you can select different regions or occupations to look at in this query window. So here you can look at different regions. So if you want to just look at a single county or state or MSA, you can do that here. And also look at specific cities or zip codes or ZICTAs as well. Or you can also look at groups of counties or groups of zip codes through custom regions. But for now, is just Maryland okay? Or did we want to look at a different region?
I think we can use Maryland, Jessica.
Okay, thank you. But again, you can choose different regions depending on what you're looking for. And then here you can also look at different occupations. So if you wanted to look at one specific occupation or occupation group, you can enter that here in this occupation section. You can also use total all occupations to see all of the occupations within the region. You can also enter engineering or engineers to look at all the occupations related to engineers. We also have the magnifying glass here on the right-hand side where you can explore different occupations. So here you can see the different SOC occupations for the different occupations and occupation groups that you can choose from. And if you click on any of these arrow icons, um, uh, like the architecture and engineering occupations, you can drill down a little bit more here too. that explore some more different occupations you can look at. We also have some different occupation clusters that are pre-built occupation groups within JobsEQ that you can also explore. That includes some different CT or career technical education clusters, uh, remote occupations, green jobs, as well as occupation groups related to an education level. So if you just wanted to look at occupations that have a typical entry-level education as a master's degree, you can use this master's degree BLS group. So there's a lot of different occupations you can look at, but it's just using the engineers occupation group, okay? And then you can also choose a stock level here too. So are you very familiar with stock codes or stock levels?
Sonia would be our guru on that, as much as you're willing to
Well,
accept
I
that.
was
So
going to say, I don't know. We're very familiar with SIP codes, but not as much with SOC. So if you want to explain, we would be happy to hear that.
Yeah, definitely. So SOC stands for Standard Occupation Classification, and similar to zip codes, SOC codes are are hierarchical. And so the most detailed occupation level is at that 6-digit SOC level. And then those 6-digit SOC codes, those detailed occupations, are grouped into 5-digit codes with similar characteristics. Those 5-digit codes are grouped into 3-digit codes, and then those 3-digit codes are grouped into 2-digit codes. So the 2-digit SOC codes are those broadest groupings of occupations. It includes things like office and administrative support occupations, transportation, material moving occupations, management occupations, and so on. But as you become more detailed, as you get more digits, it becomes more and more detailed. So the 6-digit SOC level is the most detailed occupation level. So I want to see the 6-digit SOC codes to see the detailed occupations within this engineers group. So I use the 6-digit SOC level. Then I'll click Run to run this. So here in Occupation Snapshot, we have the occupations that fall within this engineers group in the rows, along with their corresponding SOC code. And then we also have a lot of information about these occupations. So we have information about their employment, the current, as well as some other current data here, also historical data, and then also the forecast section to see some forecasted data. Within the current section, the first column is current employment. So for example, if we're looking at civil engineers, there's 6,199 civil engineers working within Maryland. And then also 4,309 electrical engineers, for example, working within Maryland. Then we also have, if we scroll all the way down, the total all occupations row to show the data for all those occupations together. So in Maryland, there's 2,974,413 people working in any occupation. And then right above it, we also have the engineers group. So there's 39,146 people working as engineers within Maryland. So you can see a lot of information about their current employment in this column here. And then the next column is the annual wages. So you can see the mean or median annual wages of each of these occupations that your students might be going into. Here you can see mean annual wages, but if you'd rather like to see median wages, you can just change this wage type to median in this query window. So you can see what types of wages your students might be getting. So for example, if civil engineers, the mean annual wage is 110,200, and also for for example, for electrical engineers, the mean annual wage is $132,700. Then we also have LQ here. LQ stands for location quotient, and that is a way to measure the occupation's employment concentration in the region compared to the national average. So when it's greater than 1, that means the occupation's employment concentration is higher than the national average. Or if it's much higher than 1, that just means that your region, in this case Maryland, specializes in those occupations. So for engineers all other, the LQ is 2.24. So that could mean that there's a lot of engineers all other within Maryland compared to other regions.
Jessica, if you were to click on any of the fields under the occupation column, does it allow you to drill down further into that particular segment? Like, is that a hyperlink?
Yeah, so you can click on this, but if you click on this, it will take you to another pop-up window where you can see other analytics to see some more specific data for this occupation. Um, Most of the analytics in JobsEQ only go down to the 6-digit stock level. So the most detailed level is, for example, the civil engineers level. Um, but there are also a couple other analytics that do let you drill down a little bit more for some more specific occupations. And those are RTI and resume forensics, which I can show you in a little bit. But so clicking on these links, these occupation titles will let you see more information about those occupations, but not necessarily drill down further.
Got it. Thank you.
Uh, you might also want to know more information about the unemployment for each of these occupations. Maybe you want to focus on occupations that have the lower unemployment rates. So the next two columns are the unemployed and the unemployment rate columns. So if we're looking at an occupation, um, like this electrical engineers, the unemployment, there's 113 unemployed electrical engineers living within Maryland, and the unemployment rate is 2.6%. But for example, the unemployment rate in Maryland for mechanical engineers is 0.6%, which is a little bit lower than for electrical engineers. We can also compare this to the region as a whole by scrolling down to the total all occupations row, and the unemployment rate for the region as a whole is 3.4%. So the unemployment rate for example, the electrical engineers is lower than the unemployment rate for the region as a whole. You might also be interested in if there's a current need for these occupations. And you can find a little bit of information about that in this online job ads column. This online job ads column shows the number of online job ads that were active in the last 30 days for each of these occupations. And if you click on this blue link, it's also a hyperlink here. And if you click on that blue link, you can see the specific job postings that were active in the last 30 days for this occupation. So here you can see those job titles of those job postings, as well as the employers, the locations of those job postings, when it was posted, and if it's still active on the website, or when it was removed from the website, and then any wages or pulled from the job postings. You can also drill down a little bit more into these job postings by clicking on the job title. And here you can see that job description. And then if it's still active, you can click View Original to view the original job ad and apply it here too. And these job ads come from over 45,000 different websites, including job boards and aggregators, staffing companies, and also individual company websites too. And we do try to duplicate the job ads and only show those unique job ads. So this can show a little bit of information about the current needs for these occupations that your students might be going into. But we do have a lot more information from job postings in another analytic called RTI, which I can show you in a little bit too. So here you can see a lot of information about these occupations, the current uh, information for these occupations, but you can also see the historical change to see if these occupations have been growing or declining in the past with the historical section. So right now this is a 5-year history, but you can change the number of years you view with the historical years section in the query window. So if you'd like to see a little bit further out into the past, you can change this to 10, or you can change this anywhere between 1 and 10. But I'll just keep this with 5 for now. So we can see the total employment change over those number of years you selected. So in this case, last 5 years. So here for electrical engineers, the employment has grown over the last 5 years by 270 workers in Maryland. So it is a growing occupation based on the past. And the historical annual percentage change, which is the next column, is 1.3%. So it is a growing occupation. Whereas if we're looking at engineers all other, that has declined overall over the last 5 years with a historical annual percentage change of negative 0.3%. And for any of these, you can also click on the column header to sort it from highest to lowest or lowest to highest. So within the engineers group, you can quickly see which occupations have been growing the fastest or declining the fastest. And it looks like industrial engineers, bioengineers, and biomedical engineers and nuclear engineers are 3 different occupations that have been growing the fastest in Maryland over the last 5 years. So we can see that historical change, but we can also see how they are forecasted to grow or their forecasted demand with this forecasted section. So right now this is a 1-year forecast, but you can change the number of years you view with the projection years section in the query window. So if you want to see a little bit further out into the future, you can change this to 5 or 10 or just anywhere between 1 and 10. But I'll just keep this with 1 for now. So the next column is the total demand, and that is the total forecasted number of workers that are forecast to be needed to be trained in the next year to fill the need for this occupation, in this case for Maryland. So for electrical engineers, 237 new electrical engineers are forecast to be needed to be trained in the next year in Maryland to fill that need for this occupation. And you can click on the column header again, the total demand column header to sort it. So you can quickly see which types of engineers are forecasted to be the most in demand in the next year in Maryland. And that includes civil engineers, mechanical engineers, engineers all other, and also industrial engineers. This total demand column is the sum of these next 3 columns, the exits, transfers, and employment growth. So exits are the demand in new workers just due to workers leaving the workforce. For things like retirements or for going back to school and leaving the workforce or raising a family and leaving the workforce. So for example, of the 237 electrical engineers that are forecast to be needed in the next year. 95 of them are forecast to be needed due to retirements or for people leaving the workforce and need to replace those workers. Transfers are the demand in new workers due to workers changing major occupation groups. So this is, for example, moving from electrical engineer to um, construction worker or a teacher. There are large occupation changes, and this would be the number of workers that are forecast to be needed to backfill those positions. And we also have the employment growth column. So this can show if these occupations are forecast to grow or decline in the next year in this case. So it looks like electrical engineers are forecast to grow by 11 workers over the next year for Maryland, whereas the engineers all other is forecast to decline by 29 workers over the next year. But there's still a high demand for this occupation because of the exits and transfers and need to replace those workers. And we also have the forecasted annual growth rate here, so we can click on this column to quickly see which occupations are forecast to grow the fastest within the engineers group, or which ones are forecast to decline the fastest. You can also export this to Excel, Word, PDF, or an image if you do want to share this. And I know I went through a lot of different definitions here. If you do have questions with what any of these definitions are, you can click on this question mark icon. And we have a video tutorial here that shows more information about this analytic they could view. And then we also have the help documentation section that is specific to the analytic you're in. And when you click on that help documentation section, it will take you to the help page. And here you can find some information about the analytic and also some technical notes for sources of the data if you're interested in that, as well as definitions for each of these columns here in this analytic. So if you do have questions with what any of these terms mean, you can always check this help page out. Or you can also ask an economist or mathematician in Chmura a question, including what any of these definitions are, by using this live chat as well. But occupation snapshot can be really helpful for just getting a good overview of the occupations that your students might be going into and the need for these occupations and what wages they might be getting, or if there is a higher or lower unemployment rate for these occupations. So it is a good overview to get information about this occupation. But any questions with occupation snapshot right now?
I think we're good for now. Yep.
And then if you do click on one of these, you can also see more information about that. So I was focused on electrical engineers. Do we want to focus on that one, or do we want to focus on a different type of engineer or occupation?
Do we have one that kind of pivots, I don't know, robotics or cybersecurity engineering or software engineering, anything like that? Or is that falling under all other engineers? Does it have its own?
I would assume that those are either under the computer hardware or maybe there is a computer software if you scroll down. Like it probably doesn't have its own. Robotics is probably throughout electrical and mechanical and aero. So yeah, we'd have to.
So there is a software developers. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're looking for, but there is software developers. It's a computer occupation. So that is also available. I think there's mechatronic.
Mhm. Can you type in cyber or and see if anything comes up or any of the ones that
Yeah. So,
here?
so cybersecurity is a little bit more challenging to find a SOC code that fits uh, that job title. Um, it might fall more into the information security analyst occupation for cybersecurity. Um, So we could use that one. We could also, like I said, use mechatronics if you're wanting to look at more robotics. Then there's also software developers if you want to focus on the software engineering. Um,
Sierra, you can override me, but I think for the purposes of learning how to use the system, electrical is fine also, if like that's what you were planning on, Jessica.
any of them,
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but definitely you can choose different ones depending on what you're looking for, uh, including any of those that I mentioned too. But we could go into this electrical engineers then. So if you click on this one, this will bring up a pop-up window with some different analytics you can run for this specific occupation. But if we go into occupation profile, this gives you a lot more information about this occupation. So it gives you a description of this occupation as well as education, typical entry-level education and work experience requirements, and then also educational attainment. So it looks like the typical entry-level education is a bachelor's degree for electrical engineers, but then there are also a lot of people who are working as electrical engineers that get master's degree. So here, if we're looking at the educational attainment, 47% of electrical engineers have just a bachelor's degree, but then there's also 34.7% have master's degree, and also 9.8% have of electrical engineers have a doctoral or professional degree. So you can see the educational attainment of people who are working in this occupation.
Can I ask a quick question?
Mhm.
When you just clicked on this and now you're looking at this occupation profile, is this the occupation profile information for everyone on the face of the planet, or is this still Maryland?
This would be also for Maryland for
Okay,
this
so whatever
education.
we had it set at.
Yes. And that's for this educational profile. Most of the occupation profile is for Maryland. The education and training requirement is for the United States as a whole. So that won't be, you can't really drill down into this education and training requirement, but all these other sections will be specific to the region you had entered. Then we also have the regional post-secondary programs here that are linked to this electrical engineers occupation. So you can see other schools within Maryland that have this program and programs linked to this occupation. So here you can see some other schools that you might be competing with, or maybe also partner schools for uh, programs related to electrical engineers. Then we also have the wages tab here that can show some of the information about wages that your students might be going into or getting if they go into this electrical engineers occupation. So you can see mean entry-level and experience level wages as well as wages by industry. So for electrical engineers going into the architectural engineering and related services industry, they might make an average annual wage of $125,700. But if they go into the uh, electrical power generation, transmission, and distribution industry, they might make a little bit more at $132,200. So this occupation profile just gives you a lot more information about this occupation. This is something you can also share directly with students or faculty members if you want to, and you can share this in Excel or by exporting this to Excel, Word, or PDF. So this just gives you a lot more information about this occupation that your students might be going into that is also shareable too. But any questions with occupation profile? So I have been just using Maryland, but there's also a lot of different other regions you can choose from. You can look at the specific county or state or MSA or zip code or city. But if you wanted to look at maybe a radius from your school or drive time from your school, you could also create a custom region and look at that data as well. So to create a custom region for maybe a group of counties or of zip codes or radius, you go to custom here on the left-hand side. And this is where you can create different customizations like custom regions or custom occupation groups if you wanted to include multiple occupations in one group. And also other customizations here. I'll go to region to create a custom region. And then here's some of the regions that were either created by me or other people on the license. But I will go to new to create a new custom region. So we'll have to name our custom region here. So I'll just use University of Maryland. Maryland Applied Graduate Engineering Custom Region. And this will be the name of the region that you refer to in different analytics like occupation snapshot if you want to use it there. You can also share this custom region with other people on your JobsEQ license by clicking on the share this region box. So if you and all of your team members want to use the same custom region, one of you can just create a custom region and click on the share this region box. Once you create and save that custom region, everybody else would just have to type in the name of this custom region into an analytic, such as occupation snapshot, to use it too. So you don't all have to create that same custom region. The custom region status is set on draft mode and to click save, and it'll change to ready. The region resolution is the building blocks for your custom region. So if you want to create a custom region based on counties, you can use the county region resolution. And then you can create a region based on a group of counties here. You can see those counties on this map. You can also create a custom region based on ZICDAS. ZICDAS stands for zip code tabulation area, and similar to zip codes. So you can create a custom region based on zip codes or group of zip codes or ZICDAS as well. So then you can go to the county region resolution to create a custom region based on counties. And there are different regions that you can select here. So if you wanted to select different counties to be included in your custom region just by clicking on them, you can use the select option. So this includes the 4 different counties plus the District of Columbia. So if you wanted to create a region for this entire shaded region, you could do that as well. To select different counties or regions to include within your custom region, you can also type them in with this type region option. So if you wanted to look at maybe Washington, DC, Maryland, the Metro, so MSA, plus maybe additional counties, you can type this one in, this MSA in. You can also look at a couple different counties as well. So you can mix and match. You can type them in if you want to, and also click to select some additional ones. So that's a couple different options for creating custom region for a group of counties or group of zip codes that you wanted to look at. You can also create a region based on a radius. So for example, if you wanted to look at the demand for occupations within a 45-mile radius from your school, that is also an option. So here you can use this radius option and you have 45-minute or 45-mile radius from your school. And then we can also enter the address of the school or latitude and longitude, or just click a point on the map. So I have the address is 2105 J.M. Patterson Building, 4356 Stadium Drive, College Park, Maryland. So if we enter that address for the 45-mile radius, this circle represents that 45-mile radius. But since the region resolution is county, now any county that touches or intersects this circle will be included in entirety in the custom region. So all of this county will be included, and all of this county will be included, and all of this county will be included, and so on. So it might be kind of a lot bigger than the circle that we had created. If you wanted to make it a little bit more granular and closer to the circle you had created, you can also select ZICTA regionalization. So now any ZICTA that touches or intersects this circle will be included in entirety in the custom region, including the ZICTA or all the ZICTA, but it might be a little bit closer to the circle than if we had selected county. So there is an option if you wanted to look at a certain number of miles from your school, because maybe you think your students are going to be working within a 45-mile radius from your school. That is also an option. So I will name and save this one so I can use it later.
Jessica, not that I need you to show us this, but I'm just curious if we wanted to look at a number of like urban centers at the same time across the country, is it possible to do that on this map? Or do we need to search a little bit differently if we like expanded it and want it to go all over maybe a few different locations throughout the country? Is that possible?
So there's a couple different ways you could do that. If you're wanting to just look at and compare different regions, like different MSAs or cities on the same map or table, we do have a couple other analytics where you can compare different regions, like it maps analytic or data explorer or data fetch, which I can show you those in a little bit. And that's where you can compare different regions. If you wanted to combine all of them um, into one region, this is where you can create a custom region for all of those different metros or cities that you're looking at and combine them into one custom region. But it sounds like you might be interested more in comparing them. Um, which is also available in a couple other analytics, which I can show
Okay,
you.
all right, thank you.
But here within this custom region setup window, this window here is where you can create custom regions to combine multiple counties or zip codes into one region. And then there is also an option to create a region based on a drive time as well, if you are interested in that too. Now I'll go back to the one I had just saved. Once you save a custom region, you can click on the region preview to see the region it'll actually be drawing data from when you use it in an analytic like occupation snapshot. And this can be helpful for the radius option or drive time option. Then you can also click on this Run Analytics section here. This will bring up a pop-up window to quickly go to other analytics that might be helpful for custom regions. So if we want to quickly jump back into Occupation Snapshot, we can from this window. So go back into Occupation Snapshot. Depending on the size of the region, it might time out here, but we also have data fetch. So if it does time out, you can also use data fetch to find the same data here. So to create to use the custom region, you can just type it in here into the search bar. Or you can also use these three dots here on the right-hand side to explore regions. And this is where you can explore different regions that you could use. But if you go into this custom section, you can see your custom regions that you had created or custom regions that were shared with you by others. So this is another way to explore different regions if you don't remember the name of a custom region that was either shared with you or one of your own custom regions. And if I go back into engineers, and then select the 6-digit SOC code, so those detailed occupations within engineers, then we can see the data for such as employment and the wages or the demand for different engineers within this 45-mile radius rather than the entire state of Maryland. So depending on what you're looking for, you can choose different regions. You can select different regions if you'd like, uh, or create custom regions, and then use those in different analytics like Occupation Snapshot too. But any questions with creating a custom region or using those in analytics? Okay, so I did also mention a little bit about job postings. So I do want to go over some information about job postings. And so job posting information is in this real-time signal section in RTI. I'll also go back to Maryland, but you can use a custom region here too if it is a county-based region. And RTI stands for Real-Time Intelligence because this is updated daily and it is our job posting analytic. So you can find a lot of information from job postings here. And there are different job ad statuses you can select from. So if you're just looking for job postings that are currently active right now, you can use the currently active job ad status. So this could be helpful if you are working with students or maybe faculty members who are working with students to see what job postings are currently available. You can also look at the job ads that were active during a time period, newly posted during a time period, or closed during a time period. If you wanted to look at the job postings that were active during time period, for example, you can also choose the time frame to look at. So you can look at the job ads that were active sometime within the last 12 months if you want to, or maybe last 3 months, last 30 days, or a specific year. Or you can also select your own time frame with these calendar icons. So you can choose a start time frame and an end time frame. But I'll just look at the job postings that were active sometime within the last 12 months. Then we can also add some more filters here. So if we just want to look at job postings for engineers, just to maybe see what employers might be wanting to hire engineers, your students, we can filter for an occupation like engineers. We can also add some more filters here, like the education level filters. So maybe we want to just focus on job postings and employers that are requesting a master's degree, or students or applicants that have a master's degree, or maybe a doctoral professional degree too. And you can continue to add some more filters here, but I will just use those filters to see the job postings that were active in the last 12 months for Maryland for engineers that also specify either master's degree or doctoral professional degree. I'll click run to run this. So here in this middle section, we can see those postings broken down by occupation, for example. So for example, elect electronics engineers accept computer, electrical engineers, industrial engineers. These are different types of engineers that are being requested by employers through job postings. Then if you click on any of these blue numbers, you can see those specific job postings again, including those job titles, employers, locations of those job postings, when it was posted, if it's still active on the website, when it was removed from the website, and then any wages that were pulled from the job postings. You can also export this. So if you are working with any students or faculty members who are working with students, you can export this. And this file has everything from the table along with a couple other columns, including this URL column. And this URL column does not need a JobsEQ login, and it will take you to that job description. So if you are wanting to share this with students directly, or maybe faculty members who are working directly with students, to show what types of job postings are available, these files, this export with these links is one way to be able to share the job postings directly with students. You can see those job postings broken down by occupation if you like, as well as location. So see which areas within Maryland have job postings for students. There's for engineers that students could go into. Companies that have those job postings. So these are some different companies that your students could apply for. You may also want to partner with these schools or these companies as well. Uh, if you're wanting to partner with some companies, because they do have some job postings for engineers that meet all these filters here on the right. So things like Northrop Grumman, the John Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory, Leidos, RTX, all these are different uh, employers that or companies that have job postings available. Also have the job titles of these job postings. hard skills and soft skills that are being requested from these job postings. So if you're wanting to develop new curriculum, or maybe make sure that your curriculum uh, matches what the employers are requesting, you can also see what hard skills and soft skills they are requesting here too. See if that curriculum matches. So things like Python, radio frequency, MATLAB, computer-aided design software, as well as soft skills like communication, being cooperative, problem solving. These are all different skills that are being requested by employers uh, through job postings for engineers at the higher education levels. So industries of those companies, experience levels are being requested, education levels that are being requested from those job postings, as well as post-secondary programs that are being requested, some different certifications that are being requested through job postings. So these are some different certifications that maybe you want to include with curriculum as they are being requested. And also job types. So whether they're full-time or part-time, remote, or they don't indicate as remote. Then you can also click on the wages box here to also add wages that are listed in job postings. So if we go back up to the company table, now we can also see the wages that are listed in job postings for these different companies to maybe see which of these companies have higher wages for engineers. Also at the top, we also have a line chart here to show how the number of job postings have changed over time to see if this is becoming more in demand or less in demand. So the number of job postings do look like they have been increasing over the last few months for the region. So RTI can be really helpful for looking at some specific job postings within your region, and then also seeing what employers are hiring, and also what skills or certifications they might be requesting that are in demand that you may want to include with curriculum too. Or if you're working with students directly, uh, maybe they want to include those within their resumes as well. And I mentioned before that RTI is one where you can drill down a little bit more. Uh, Most of JobsEQ has a 6-digit stock level as the most detailed occupation level. Here in RTI, you can go down to the 8-digit level. So there is a robotics engineer here that would have fit into the engineer all other 6-digit code. So if you wanted to see robotics engineers separately, you can see some information about this occupation here in RTI. But RTI can be really helpful if you are wanting to just look at what companies are hiring and have job postings available, or just what job postings are out there. But any questions with RTI?
I think we're clear.
Okay. Okay, we also had a question about alumni too. So if you did want to look at alumni from your school, we also do have another analytic called Resume Forensics. Resume Forensics is looking at LinkedIn profiles, where you can find your specific your alumni and the LinkedIn profiles from your alumni to see if they are still working in the field that they had gotten a degree, or if they are still working within the region, or if they have moved to other regions. And resume forensics is similar setup to RTI. So for resume forensics, you can choose different regions like Maryland. I wanted to look at profiles of people who went to school in Maryland. So I'll select the filter by where people went to work or went to school. We can also look at profiles for people who live in Maryland or work in Maryland. But I want to see the alumni for your school, so I will select went to school in Maryland. Then if we just want to look at your school and the alumni for your school, we can add a filter for University of Maryland. If you just wanted to look at University of Maryland College Park, you can, or you can look at all schools. And just use the contains University of Maryland just to look at any of those schools and campuses within the University of Maryland. You can also add some more filters here. So if you wanted to just focus on that engineering program, we can look at engineering. Because I want to look at things like engineering as well as electrical engineering and computer engineering. I'll just use it contains engineering. So that should include all these different types of engineering programs. And I also want to look at alumni that went to University of Maryland and got a master's degree. So I can add all of those filters. So then this will focus on profiles of people who went to University of Maryland, who also went for an engineering program at the master's degree level. And we can see a lot of information about these profiles and about these alumni, including where they currently live. So if we wanted to look at it by state, it looks like a lot of the alumni are still living within Maryland. There's also some people living in the District of Columbia and Virginia, it's pretty close, as well as some people who moved across the country to California or Texas or Florida. So you can see the regions that they went to and if they stayed in the region or not, as well as the schools that they went to, the programs that they went to, that they had, the award levels here too, and the graduation years, so which year they graduated from. And your license has profile data. So if you click on these numbers here, you should be able to click on those numbers, and if you click on that number, it will bring up a pop-up window with the specific people that in this case that graduated from a specific year. So
Jessica, I know that our contract, I believe, is focuses on the United States. We have a large number of international students. Is there anywhere that distinguishes that they are outside of this data, like how many students are perhaps not going to appear on the US map, just so we know how many we're not seeing the information for?
um So it would have to, if they list their residence as somewhere in the United States, then it will be. Um, but there isn't a way to know how many people of your alumni who live outside of United States.
Okay,
So wouldn't track that part.
gotcha. Thank you so much for clarifying.
But if they do list the residents, their current residence as United States, or location within United States, it should be here. That's a good question. Um, but my this license does not have that option to look at the specific profiles, but you should be able to click on these numbers, which are blue for you, to see the specific people and be able to click on the profiles as well and go to their LinkedIn profiles. That's a way to be able to contact them if you'd like to. But you can also see their most recent employer here too, to see where your alumni are currently working or their last known employer. So it looks like a lot of your alumni are working at Northrop Grumman, the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, Booz Allen Hamilton. So these are some different employers that your students are working for, or your alumni are working for. Also, their most recent job title. And also their most recent occupation. So here you can see if they are still working within a field that they studied for, or if they did something completely different. So it looks like a lot of the alumni who um, went to a engineering program uh, are software developers, also some chief executives, so founders of companies too, computer information systems managers, architectural engineering managers. So it does look like a lot of those alumni are still in an area related to uh, the engineering. Also see the certifications that they had gotten either from your school or outside of your school. Also some skills that they have that they also listed on their LinkedIn profiles. So these are some different skills they either learned from your school or just other places too. Then we also have these link sections here. So these alumni may have gone to your school to get a master's degree, but they may have also went to a different school to get a bachelor's degree or a doctoral, for example. And so here this shows some of the other schools that they went to get either a degree lower or above what they had gotten at your school, as well as the other programs that they may have gotten, and then also the award levels too. So if you are wanting to look at alumni and where they are working or where they are living and what employers they're working for, and also seeing some specific employers or their specific people and alumni and being able to connect with them, you can find all of that here in Resume Forensics. Resume Forensics is a great place to look for alumni data. But any questions with Resume Forensics? Okay, so we do mention about being able to compare different regions at the same time. So there are a couple different ways that you can compare different regions. One of them is to look at maps. So if you wanted to look at several different regions at once on a map, you can do that in Maps. So we can click the plus here next to data to add data here. And you can look at some different demographic information, commuting data, war data. But I go to occupation to look at some occupation data. And I look at engineers again. And if I wanted to look at different places to see which areas within the United States have more engineers working, I can select USA as the region. And if I wanted to look at it by MSA or Metropolitan Statistical Area, I can select that. So then we can look at all the different MSAs or metropolitan statistical areas at the same time to see which areas have more engineers or less engineers. If we just wanted to look at this area here around Maryland, we can zoom in a little bit here. We can also add some labels here too with the label section. So we can add the value or the name or both. And you should be able to add labels there. Looks like it's not working right now. So I'll let our IT team know about that. But you should be able to see some labels here for the number of people that are working within as engineers for these different regions. But we also do have this legend, so areas with larger numbers of engineers are the darker blues. So if you do want to compare multiple regions at the same time, that is one way that you can. And you can also map data here. You can also export this as an image. You can also export the data to Excel to be able to see that data in Excel as well. But you can map different data here, including occupation data, uh, unemployment rates, award data, demographic information, industry data as well. But any questions with map? So that's one analytic where you can compare different regions at the same time, but you can also be able to compare different regions at the same time in a table, either in Data Explorer or Data Fetch. They're kind of similar, but there's also a difference between the two. So Data Explorer, this is a powerful tool where you can select and create different tables. So if we wanted to look at the occupation data and we wanted to look at multiple regions, we can click the plus next to the region dimension. And maybe we wanted to look at all counties in Maryland. I can enter Maryland. You can continue to add different regions here if you wanted to pick and choose the regions that you wanted to compare. Or if I want to look at all counties within Maryland, I can click the arrow icon here next to Maryland and then select county from the drop-down. That will add all the counties within Maryland here. And I can also add an occupation here to this table. So if you just wanted to look at engineers and break it up to the 6-digit SOC codes, those detailed occupations within engineering group, do that as well. I can look at the employment here by clicking the plus next to employment. Also wages. Wages. So here you can be able to compare different regions, like all counties within Maryland, and look at what students might be getting, what types of wages students might be getting for these different counties here, as well as employment data. So if you wanted to look at different regions, like different states or MSAs or cities or counties, and be able to compare those different regions, Data Explorer is a great place for that. And we do have, if you click on this question mark, 3 video tutorials for Data Explorer, as it can be a little bit challenging to set up these tables right at the beginning. So we do have 3 video tutorials that are available for you. Or you can also ask somebody in live chat to help be able to create this table too.
Jessica, when we use the live chat, just so that the users on the call can know, do we need to be prepared to explain in full depth what we're viewing, or will the live chat agent be able to see our screen at any point?
We won't, as agents for live chat, we won't be able to see your screen, but if you can just say like what analytic you're in, that can be really helpful.
Okay.
And the agents are really helpful with asking if they need more information, they will ask more about what you're looking for. But just saying the analytic you're in can be helpful too. And a lot of people really do like the live chat. You're getting a live person when you're using live chat. So, and a lot of people do like it. So I really do encourage you to use the live chat if you do have questions. Um, but Data Explorer can be really helpful for looking at that multiple regions. Any questions with Data Explorer? And data fetch is similar. I won't really go through that, but data fetch is similar. It might be a little bit easier to be able to build queries here because it is based off of, or you can start with specific templates like occupation snapshot, and it will go through some of the different steps that you might need to take, including selecting regions here and occupations. So you can always take a look at this one as well. But Data Explorer, Data Fetch, and Maps are all great tools to look at if you are wanting to look at multiple regions at the same time. I did want to go through a couple other analytics that can be helpful for education specifically, and those are in the education section. So we do have the awards analytic. So here, this can be helpful if you are wanting to be able to compare your school to other schools and the programs they have. And the awards analytic looks at completion data or award data from the National Center for Education Statistics. So here there are 3 different query types. Go into the programs by school. We can select a specific school within the region you had entered. So if we wanted to look at the University of Maryland College Park school, we can select the school. And we can see what types of programs were in degrees that were conferred in uh, the 2023 to 2024 academic year for your school. And this is the latest data available from the National Center for Education Statistics, so it might be a little bit further behind than what you're used to, but this is where you can compare your school data to other schools that you may be competing with, see what types of programs they have. You can also click on the show more details box to also break this down a little bit more uh, and break it down to master's degree versus postmaster's versus doctorate, for example. And for any of these, if we wanted to look at, for example, this mechanical engineering and see what types of occupations students might be going into if they get a mechanical engineering degree, you can click on this arrow icon. This will bring up another table with the occupations that are linked to this program in our SIP to SOC crosswalk. So we can see some of those occupations, those career pathways that students going into mechanical engineering and getting that program, what occupations they might be going into, and also seeing the demand for each of those occupations, employment, wages, and then a sample of online job ads too. But if we wanted to look at what other schools have this mechanical engineering program, we can also change this query type to the school list by program. Now here we can see, we can enter a specific program such as mechanical engineering. And then also expand this region to all of Maryland. We can also see what other schools within Maryland also have this mechanical engineering program and are conferring awards for this mechanical engineering program. So that includes Johns Hopkins University, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, the Naval Academy, and also Cecil College too. This shows some of the other schools that you might be competing with, or maybe some other schools that have this program that you could partner with too. You can also see their addresses, latitude and longitudes, URLs, total school enrollment, and average net prices. So this is one way to be able to compare schools if you'd like. Or you could also expand this further to a radius or the entire United States to see what other schools you might be competing with in the entire United States too. And this does show just the most recent academic year, so the 2023 to 2024 academic year. But you do want to see some historical data that is also available within Data Explorer too. Any questions with the words analytic? So the words analytic can be really helpful for looking at words or completion data. But if you wanted to also compare that to the demand for these occupations, to see if you are overproducing or underproducing certain types of degrees, you can also look at the word gaps analytic, which is also in the education section. The word gaps analytic lets you look at different occupations, and it lets you compare the number of graduates that are produced within your region compared to the demand of these occupations within your region. This does treat the region as an island. So if no graduates are coming in and no graduates were leaving, this would be where there would be some supply surpluses or supply deficits. Uh, but since some of your graduates might leave the region, uh, that's also something to take into consideration, where this analytic might not show that movement. We can look at engineers, for example, and if the region was treated as an island where no graduates were coming in and no graduates leaving, on the left-hand side would be the supply deficit. So there are less graduates that are produced by post-secondary institutions within Maryland in this case than there is demand for these occupations. So things like civil engineers, environmental engineers, mining and geological engineers or petroleum engineers. There are all some different engineering occupations that have a supply deficit. So these could be areas that maybe if you are wanting to develop new programs for, these are some different programs that you could develop. Or if you already have these programs, this could also be a way to justify your current programs. Whereas on the right-hand side is supply surplus. So there's more graduates that are produced by post-secondary institutions within your region, in this case Maryland, compared to the demand for this occupation. But this just could mean that your students might be going to other states or other regions to work to. So we can see this by occupation to see where there could be some needs by occupation. We can also look at it by program here too. To see which programs have supply deficits. This will only show the supply deficits. We can see which types of programs have some supply deficits. We just wanted to look at engineering. Also see what types of programs have within engineering have supply deficits within Maryland. Also the degree types. So if we click on this master's degree, you can see that geotechnical and geoenvironmental engineering, water resources engineering, civil engineering, and structural engineering are all some different programs within engineering that have the larger supply deficits for the master's degree level within Maryland. So these are some different areas you could either develop programs for or maybe use this to justify your current programs. So here, this does treat the region as an island. If you wanted to, you could also compare this to another analytic, occupation gaps. Which is an occupation section. Occupation gaps does treat the region as an island, or does not treat the region as an island. So it does take migration into consideration. And it also looks at the forecasted or the projected educational attainment of residents within the region compared to the projected occupation demand for these occupations. So whereas the word gaps does treat the region as an island, so no graduates are coming in or no graduates are leaving, this would be where the word gaps would show where there would be some supply deficits or supply surpluses. Occupation gaps, on the other hand, does take migration into consideration, and this is more for the forecasted. So here we can see that mechanical engineers, industrial engineers, civil engineers, electrical engineers, several different engineers have a supply deficit or a potential supply deficit. So you can use both award gaps and occupation gaps to justify your current programs too. If you look at the help page, we also do have both in occupation gaps and award gaps explanation of what difference you might see between award gaps and occupation gaps. But if you wanted to either look at what programs you may wanted to add to your curriculum or maybe justify your current programs, looking at both word gaps and occupation gaps might be helpful too. But any questions with either word gaps or occupation gaps? So I know I went through a lot of different information here. If you do want to pull a lot of information at the same time, you can also use these reports. So for example, if you wanted to look at an occupation and one occupation or occupation group, you can use the occupation report. I'll go into the education report, where here you can enter a specific program. Like if we wanted to look at, for example, mechanical engineering program, we can use this mechanical engineering program. And then you can also select the wage type as mean or median. Also choose the file type as PDF or Word document for your report here on the right-hand side. And then on the left-hand side, you can select or deselect sections of the report you wanted to see or not see, or move them around if you want to by clicking and dragging. You can also add your logo information to the cover sheet if you want to. This can be helpful if you are wanting to share this with other people. And I'll click Run to run this report. This will go to this export section here, and it may take some time to run depending on what else is in, what other reports are in front of you in the queue. But while you're waiting for it to run, you don't have to stay on this page. So you can go to other analytics if you want to. You can even log off if you want to, and it will still run in the background for you. And once it's ready to download, there'll be a red dot next to this export button that lets you know that that is ready to download. But while we're waiting for it, uh, here I use the standard crosswalk. So our SIP to SAC crosswalk that we have in JobsEQ is largely based off the NCS crosswalk. But if you have your own crosswalk that you want to use instead, so certain SOC codes or occupations that are linked to your specific program, you can also use a custom program crosswalk. And to create a custom program crosswalk, you can go to the custom and then program. To create your own custom program crosswalk, enter your program here. I'll name this custom mechanical engineering program. So start with the program here, and then you can add additional occupations if you think the mechanical engineering program is should include a different occupation, or you can also remove some of them. So for example, if you think the mechanical engineering program, your mechanical engineering program does not go to and lead to a cost estimator occupation, you can remove that one. Then I'll save this one. So you can adjust our program crosswalk to create your own. If we go back into the education report, rather than using the standard crosswalk, use a custom program crosswalk and just type the name of our custom program crosswalk in to be able to run reports for your own custom program crosswalk rather than a standard one. But within the education report, here we have a title page here. And this is where your local information would go if you wanted to add that to your report, as well as a definition of the program. Some schools that have this program within the region you specified. Occupations that are linked to that program, either in a standard program crosswalk or your own custom program crosswalk, depending on which you chose. And then also definitions for these occupations, occupation detail information from Occupation Snapshot, including the current employment, wages, online job ads, and then also the forecast demand for these occupations that are linked to this program. Occupations by industry, so or employment by industry. So for occupations linked to the mechanical engineering occupation, what industries are employing those occupations? Geographic distributions of people working in occupations linked to mechanical engineering. Some demographic information about the region. RTI or job posting data for occupations linked to the mechanical engineering program, including what employers are hiring, what skills and certifications are being requested from those job postings. Also, regional map you're drawing the data from, and also some frequently asked questions if you are sharing this with other people who may not know what these terms are. So if you are just wanting to pull a lot of information about a program and the occupations linked to a program, you can use this education report. And the custom program crosswalk, using a custom program crosswalk is very similar. It will just change the occupations that are being looked at. So for example, here, the cost estimator occupation is removed. So if you're wanting to look at a lot of information about the program, to look at different program studies, and evaluating different programs or maybe new programs, the education report might be helpful for you to see if there is demand for these occupations linked to the program that you're looking at, and the wages that they might be getting, what industries they may be employed in. So you can use the reports if you'd like to know more information, a lot of information at the same time too. So I know I went through a lot of different information, so I just want to highlight a couple other helpful resources that for you as you are working in JobsEQ. Like I mentioned, you do have the live chat. So if you do have questions as you're working in JobsEQ, I definitely recommend using the live chat. The chat hours are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time, but even if it's outside of those hours, you have a question on the weekend or outside of 8 to 6, you can still type in your question, and then we'll get back to you the next business day by email. So you can ask a lot of different questions here, like where can I find this data? Is this data available? What did these terms mean in this report or in this analytic? And we can quickly help you get an answer to your question. And the live chat is free too. We also do have other helpful resources, including this help and resources section that includes some different uh, video tutorials for the specific analytics, as well as a help documentation section. When you go to when you're on the My Tools page, will just take you, this help document will just take you to the general info page, where here you can find some information about navigation, data sources, methodology notes, uh, classification systems that we use in JobsEQ. We also have all the video tutorials here in this video library section. So if you do want to look at all the video tutorials, we have all of those listed here, including getting started or uh, video tutorials for some of the specific analytics too. We also have this What's New tab section here. And this includes some of the recent past updates for the data in JobsEQ, as well as some of the upcoming updates for the data in JobsEQ and when we expect those to be in JobsEQ. Then we also have this AI assistant that is available. I don't think your license has this right now, is activated right now, but if you would like to have the AI assistant available for you, uh, you just have to sign a form uh, that allows you to use this. And to fill out this form, you'll just reach out to your client relationship manager, Jason Roundtree. And once you sign this form, you'd also be able to use the AI assistant uh, to ask questions too.
Can you can the AI assistant, is that more like just for help if you want to know which report can I find X information in? Or can you use the AI assistant to actually run a query, like say I'm looking for programs in cybersecurity throughout the United States and it can like do it for you? How in depth is it?
You could do both here. So I don't know if I have this. Try this. I'm looking for cybersecurity programs in the United States.
Sure.
Not sure exactly what this
Yeah.
will give you. For some queries, it does let you run them.
Okay, so it gives you some hints, helpful hints on how to get what you might be looking for.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you could also tell it to run something. I believe that should work too. I think it should run it. Some queries. Uh, but this is also available. You could use this if you'd like. So here it is running occupation snapshot for you. Or try to. I'll have to look into this, but it should run it for you too. So depending on the queries and the questions you ask it, it can be a powerful tool for you too. I believe you can also attach files here to be able to update the data here too, using JobsEQ. So you can use the AI assistant, or you can also use asking question using live chat, which is a live person too. And then also, as I mentioned, the custom section does have where you have some different customizations, like custom regions, industry groups, occupation groups, programs. You can also see the recent queries that you had here in the recent section too. So if you are running a query and want to go back to the query, the recent section will let you see what types of queries you had run before. And then also the Discover section here will let you see some different webinars or blogs created by people in Chmura. And also at the top, we do have, click on this education section, some different uses of JobsEQ that you might be interested in, some different suggestions that you could look into. So for example, if you want to assess degree attainment by region or occupation, you can go into awards and it gives you a suggestion for going to awards. But there's a lot of information in JobsEQ, and I know we went through a lot of different information here. Do you have any other questions or anything else that you want to go over today?
I'm curious what the report builder is. Is it just more customizable versus the education report that you showed us earlier?
Yes, exactly. So
Uh,
for some of these other reports, you uh, may not have every section that you're interested in, or uh, if you want to build a little bit more customized report, you can use Report Builder, and it actually comes with the clips in, that you might have seen. So if we go into Occupation Snapshot, near any of the tables or charts that you've seen in that we went through in JobsEQ, you may have seen these clip icons. That's related to the report builder. So we can clip a table or chart that we want to include in our custom report. I'll create a new report and save this. So this table has been added to my custom report. I will quickly go to a couple more. So we go into awards and then select the University of Maryland College Park. And if I want to clip this table here, I can clip this one and add that to the report. I'll add one more. So right now I'm just clipping these tables or charts to include in my report. Then once you are finished with your report, you can go to view report after clipping something. That will go away. So to find that customized report, that custom report, you can go into that report builder and reports. And you'll find all your custom reports here. So here, this will include everything we had clipped. So every table or chart we had clipped here. And then we can also edit the cover sheet to include logos or notes, or edit each section individually. Another option is if you do want to edit everything at the same time, you can edit global parameters. This will let you select a different region if you'd like. So if you'd like to, instead of using Maryland, you'd like to look at the Washington, D.C. MSA, you can change this region, update preview. So now everything will be changed to the new region. So if you do have similar reports that you want to run, that's also customized to your needs, you can create a custom report using the clips and report builder, and then you can also adjust the region or the occupation to be able to run the same similar report for different occupations or regions as well. And this report builder, these custom reports will be updated each time we update the data in JobsEQ. So once we update the data in JobsEQ, you can just export the new report to be able to have that new report with the new data.
Thank you, Jessica.
So that's a great question. Report Builder is really helpful if you want a customized report. But any other questions or anything else you want to go over today? Okay, so if you do have questions later, feel free to use those other resources that are available for you, like the help documents or the live chat, or if you choose to use the AI after signing that form, that is also available. I definitely recommend using live chat if you do have questions and want to talk to a real person. Um, but if you do have want to have another training session, just feel free to either email me if you'd like, or email your CRM, Jason Roundtree, and we can set up additional training sessions later or shorter training sessions to go over specific projects or analytics that you'd like to cover too. And then I also will share the link to this recording of this training session with all of you as soon as that becomes available too. Um, but any other questions right now?
I think we're good to go, Jessica. We'd like to say thank you so much for your time and diligence in showing us around the platform. And we'll get our feet wet and see how we do.
You're welcome. Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
thank you so much. Yes, we have lots to do now.
Yeah, and definitely reach out if you do have questions. But otherwise, I just hope you all have a great rest of your day too.
Thank
Same
you
to
too.
you.
Take care. Bye.